Picture this: a man at the pinnacle of success, a business genius named Yi Zenman who built an empire from nothing. He had the golden touch, turning every venture into profit, every idea into reality. His name commanded respect in boardrooms across the nation. But success, as they say, breeds envy, and envy breeds treachery. The betrayal came from those closest to him. His trusted partners, the men he considered brothers, the executives he mentored and elevated to positions of power. They wanted what he had, but they didn't want to wait. So they plotted in shadows, forged documents, manipulated accounts, and when the moment was right, they struck. In one calculated move, they destroyed everything he built. His reputation was shattered, his assets seized, his name dragged through the mud with fabricated scandals. But they didn't just want to ruin him, they wanted him gone completely. The assassination attempt was brutal, swift, and almost successful. Almost. Yi Zenman survived, but barely. Broken, bleeding, and with enemies who believed him dead, he made a choice that would define the next 2 decades of his life. He disappeared. He didn't run to another country or hide in some remote village. No, he did something far more audacious. He hid in plain sight, transforming himself into someone completely ordinary, completely beneath notice. He became a substitute driver, one of those nameless, faceless workers who chauffeur drunk businessmen home late at night, who wait patiently outside restaurants and nightclubs, who exist in the periphery of the wealthy world he once dominated. 20 years, 2 decades of living in the shadows, driving luxury cars he once owned, overhearing conversations about deals he would have masterminded, watching his former empire continue to grow under the control of those who stole it from him. But he wasn't just surviving, he was watching, learning, planning. Every night he drove these people home, he gathered intelligence. Every conversation he overheard added another piece to the puzzle. During these years, he discovered something that changed everything. He had a son, a child he never knew existed, born perhaps just before his disappearance or conceived in those final chaotic days. This son had grown up without knowing his true father, without the Yi family name, without the wealth and privilege that should have been his birthright. But the boy had inherited something money couldn't buy: his father's intelligence, his determination, his natural business acumen. The son had made something of himself, rising through the corporate world on merit alone, unaware that the blood of a genius flowed through his veins. And this is where fate's cruel irony comes into play. The young man's success had caught the attention of those same enemies, those men who had destroyed his father a generation ago. They discovered the truth through private investigators, through DNA tests obtained through shadowy means, through connections in hospitals and government offices. They pieced it together. Yi Zenman had a son, and more terrifyingly for them, Yi Zenman was still alive. The old betrayers, now themselves aging tycoons comfortable in their stolen empire, felt the cold grip of fear. If Yi was alive, he could expose them. If his son learned the truth, he could rally support, claim his inheritance, destroy everything they'd built on foundations of lies and blood. So they made a decision. The son had to die before he could become a threat. The attempt started subtly. A faulty brake line on his car, chalked up to manufacturer defect. A mugging gone wrong that left him hospitalized but alive. Poisoning at a business dinner that was dismissed as food contamination. But the young man was smart, cautious, and lucky. He survived each attempt, though he didn't yet understand they were coordinated attacks rather than random misfortunes. But a father knows. Even from the shadows, even after 20 years, Yi Zhenmin was watching. He saw the pattern his son couldn't see. He recognized the methods, the same ruthless efficiency that had nearly killed him 2 decades ago. His enemies were moving against his child, the only person in this world who truly mattered to him now. The time for hiding was over. The time for patience had ended. The time for revenge had arrived. Yi Zhenmin began his resurrection carefully. He started reclaiming old assets hidden in offshore accounts they didn't know about, calling in favors from the few truly loyal allies who had believed him dead, gathering evidence meticulously compiled over 20 years of observation. He had documents, recordings, photographs, a complete map of every illegal deal, every bribed official, every skeleton in every closet. But he needed more than evidence. He needed power. So he began moving pieces on the chessboard, buying up companies through shell corporations, manipulating stock prices, executing hostile takeovers of subsidiary businesses. His enemies felt the tremors but couldn't identify the source. Who was this mysterious investor destabilizing their empire? The revelation came at the annual shareholders' meeting of the very company Yi Zhenmin had founded 40 years ago. The boardroom was packed with executives, investors, and his old betrayers sitting at the head of the table, confident in their control. Then the doors opened, and a man walked in, a man they thought they'd killed 20 years ago. The shock on their faces was everything he'd imagined during those long nights driving strangers through city streets. Fear, disbelief, recognition, and the dawning realization that their past had finally caught up with them. Yi Zhenmin wasn't just back. He was armed with proof of their crimes, controlling enough shares to challenge their authority, and backed by investors and board members who'd grown tired of their corruption. But this wasn't just about reclaiming a company. This was about protecting his son, about ensuring the young man would inherit what was rightfully his, about teaching those who valued power over loyalty that some debts can never be escaped, only postponed. The battle for control would be fierce, the legal warfare brutal, the public exposure devastating. The substitute driver had become the avenging father. The presumed dead genius had returned as a specter of justice, and those who thought they'd buried their crimes along with their victim were about to learn that the past never stays buried forever. The war had begun.